Ladies and gentlemen, so there's a global pandemic. A virus is sweeping across our world. Still, and society has changed. Let's face it, we're never going back. Why is this happening? Is somebody going to do something about it? Is this just what life is? Are we to be quarantined until all of our children have grown and married? If you haven't considered these questions, you will soon, and we'll be here with you, your personal guides on this journey, this descent into chaos. Thank you for joining us here at Staring at Goats. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk COVID-19 with me, Steven, him, Jacob, and Lando is again MIA. Lando has a lot going on in his life, and we're going to give him a pass, I think. If you guys are willing to, let's, be serious. I expect many people were yelling into their radio as they listen to this, no, you don't get a pass. Landon needs to be here, and I agree with that. I actually think we should be given a yellow card.
Yeah, I think we should be given a yellow card. No red card just yet. I believe a yellow card is definitely in order here. And I mean, let's face it, Landon is like that. He's the glue man. He's the glue guy. And he's got all of those comments that just keep us on our toes at all times. And so when he's not here, it's felt.
I mean, let's be serious. Lando's sniffing glue, maybe.
Yes, okay, that's better. I was thinking,
Oh yeah, no. In all seriousness, we miss Lando because he is a flavor to this show that is lacking. We are a Neapolitan ice cream, and we do not have the strawberry, and that's just unacceptable.
Steven, do you like the strawberry in the Neapolitan?
Yeah. Believe it or not, strawberry is one of my favorite ice cream flavors. Like if I'm at a place, I'm like, give me that strawberry. Let's face it, I'm the vanilla. Jacob's a chocolate. I am the most basic flavor that you can possibly come across.
He's really not. So, Steven, if you get Steven out of this environment, this virtual environment, and into an environment where he's had one or two scotches, oh yeah, he's not vanilla at all.
No,
it's a lot of fun.
No, I don't. You're right. Regular Steven is fine. You take the limiter off a little bit, and maybe I could pull off some chocolate, maybe some Rocky Road. Anyway, welcome to Staring at Goats, everybody. The show you wish would end because if it does, it means COVID's over. But we keep talking about it, and there's more. You guys, there's more to talk about this week in my personal existence within COVID, and my brushes with stupidity. I think I'm there. So just to kick us off, there has been school. School is an argument. I think that has been taking place for the last several weeks, right, Jacob?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not just an argument. I think it's almost like a political stand. Viewpoint at this point.
Yeah, whether you want to go to school or not is just becoming the biggest thing. And to be fair, I understand the need and desire to go to school. I understand that that's for many families, that is the thing that allows them to be who they are in many different ways. It could be for food, for childcare, for everybody being able to work. There's all kinds of reasons why you want to go to school. I'm going to talk about my personal experience with wanting to go to school. And it does not discount anybody else's, just as my overarching, your problems are your problems. I'm not saying you don't have them. This is just where I'm at. So, like, for me, school is important for my 5-year-old. Because my 5-year-old, as I've mentioned before on the show, hasn't seen another 5-year-old since March, since his birthday. This is painful to see for multiple reasons, you guys. The only playmates he has are his parents, his uncle, his aunt, and his grandmother. His grandmother will give him literally anything he wants if he just says, I want that.
Literally anything he wants.
If he says, Mime, I would like that thing. I have gotten 2 or 3 packages this week on my front porch full of plushies. Full of like plushies that Mime felt like, oh, Sam said he wanted this Kirby plushie. And I'm like, but you can't just buy him everything he wants. It's setting a standard that we can't live up to as his parents and shouldn't live up to. It's a instant gratification. Give me that thing. That thing feels good for a little while. Now that thing is, who cares? You know what I mean? Like this.
Steven, do you guys have room at your house for a horse? Because that's coming.
I know, right? All he has to do is say, "Rawr, horse."
Hey, Baby, can I get a horse?
No,
Yes, you
Pop.
can.
Pop is the threat with that one. Pop will get him a horse.
Oh, there it is.
He'll show up. Yeah. So anyway,
Tim, if you're listening, you got a trump card to play.
you got it. You got the horse. But yeah. So anyway, like that's been painful for us. So like over the past couple weeks, we've been debating send Sam to school, don't send Sam to school, send Sam to school, don't send Sam to school. School sends us really excellent plans. And I mean, Jacob, I forwarded them to you. I don't know if you've read them, but
I did. I read them pretty thoroughly.
They're really good plans on their face. They're really great. Temperature check everybody. No visitors. Teachers get to come in. Splitting classes up to smaller groups. Kindergartners are prioritized if they have to go virtual. There's so many different reasons why they are doing.
They upgraded the HVAC system to accommodate better airflows and better air handling safety precautions. They put in a total 360 Clorox cleaning system. I mean, yeah, they went all out.
They pulled out all the stops. It's very impressive. They built an outdoor classroom so that they could, on sunny days, they could alternate kids to the outside area to learn where it's more, they've got space between each other better. There is very few schools that could accomplish what this school managed to accomplish in the time that they had, to just take whatever funding they had set aside for a rainy day and just pour it into getting this school prepared for COVID-19. Then the inevitable happened, everyone. I was all set. I was stubborn. I said, I'm going to send this kid to school because he needs people. I was ready. And then that happened. The Facebook happened. The Facebook. You think that you're going to be okay, but we find out someone who's sending their kid to this school who will be in Sam's grade is an idiot. A flippin' idiot. An idiot times 12. Not just an idiot, but just a total dirtbag, moron, jock-faced, gym rat, spunk master, dirt fart, butt-brained a-hole.
Master.
I don't even know what that means, but he is just the embodiment. You guys, this Facebook page, it's all your they don't want us to see this video. Why is Facebook deleting this thing? Because it's totally real. There are so many things on there that's just like, COVID is a conspiracy and a hoax, and it's all to wreck Trump and all this BS. And you guys, he's this bald, muscle, tribal tattoo, sunglasses on the back of his head, backwards and upside down, just human.
I think everybody's got the image here because everybody has at least one person in their circle or that they know of that has that tribal tattoo on their arm and wears their glasses on the back, or wears their glasses here with the croakies on their back.
Yeah,
one or the other. I haven't decided which.
He's that just Daytona 500 moron, and the Daytona 500's cool, but he's in the center there yelling things like butt crack and stuff and getting drunk and selling bikini stuff that has his gym name on it. It's just a despicable person. He's got 4 kids, 2 sets of twins. 2 sets of twins.
No!
2 sets
That's
of
double
twins.
trouble in your class.
And 2 of the twins are going to be in Sam's class. The other 2 twins are like in 3rd grade or something. But I
that's
found
what I said,
out
double trouble in your class.
Yes,
2 of them are going to be in
them.
Sam's class. Yeah.
And I found out that this rotten human excrement of a person is going to be sending their kid to this school. And I thought to myself, well, that settles that. Not doing it. Not going to do it.
So can you go over what this guy actually said? Because I got to hear a little bit about what he said.
I was trying to find his Facebook page. Stephanie has the wife on her list of things, and she showed it to me on her phone. I couldn't find it again, but as I scrolled, it was just a whole bunch of Facebook keep censoring this video. They don't want us to see, like, anti-COVID-19 response, anti-mask. This is just all overblown. This is nothing more than a bad flu. Everyone needs to just chill and go do what you do, kind of bull crap. You know, the same stuff we've been preaching against on Staring at Goats for the last 19 episodes. It's just We know, Jacob, you and I know. You're a freaking scientist. We've spent time digging into this. We know it's not a hoax. Lando's uncle went to the hospital. He was a naysayer, and he ended up with it and is like telling everybody it's real, you guys. It's happening. It's not just a joke. You need to protect yourself. So, like, we have been touched by this disease, at least tangentially. There's no longer that argument from those idiots on All Gas No Brakes who were like, hey, I don't know anybody with it. Do you know anybody with it? Like, my dad's got 3 cases at work. You know what I mean? Like, it exists. It is around us. And to have someone not only say that, you have to realize that when you say COVID-19 is a hoax, you are discounting everyone's struggle. You are telling someone to their face that what they have gone through is not even worth talking about. It's just completely fake. That their entire existence is not even, doesn't even matter. Like, it's like a Holocaust denier walking up to a Jewish person with a tattoo on their arm and saying that didn't happen.
Well, and I feel like you can actually make that reference because if you look in New York, there were refrigeration vans that were filled with bodies from some of these hospitals that they couldn't bury. They couldn't give back to their families. The families had to forego funerals. And I don't know what they ended up doing. That's something I should probably look into. Was it mass graves, or were they actually able to have a proper burial for family, friends, whatever? I don't know, but I definitely remember seeing the news. So you're discounting what people in New York went through, especially in the early stages of this, when we really had zero understanding. I mean, at least now we have some understanding, but it's still far from complete, which I'm going to rant about in just a minute.
Yeah, we don't really get it, but you got to at least acknowledge it's a problem. We should take care of ourselves and our friends and those around us. And I'm just annoyed beyond belief that I thought I was going to be able to send my kid to school and feel comfortable. And I mean, honestly, thank God that we saw that Facebook post. I mean, really, like, I was sort of convinced, like, based on demographic information and all this other stuff, that I'm like, okay, well, the risk is what I would consider to be medium low, just based on what we're doing in our plan for Sam and all that stuff. I was like, medium to lowish based on all this stuff. There's 10,000 cases in Wake County. There's 1.1 million people here. Low percentage that we know of. We know a large demographic of that is like a certain subset of the community. But now I don't trust anything. Now I'm done. I'm done with you people and your nonsense about just going to the thing. And I'm just going to send my kid to school and I'm going to go lick doorknobs at Target. Like, yeah, it's insane. So yeah, we're going to be doing, Sam's still enrolled. And he'll be doing the virtual learning stuff that they're providing, for better or for worse. I don't know how you do that with kindergartners effectively, but we're going to give it a shot because I don't know what else to do. And then we found a family that goes to this school that would have been one of Sam's classmates that Sam knows and has played with before, that are quarantining as hardcore as we are. And like, Stephanie's trying to talk to their mom, and their mom's like, we're being really careful. And we're actually nervous about letting you in our circle. So if that tells you anything, like, I am comfortable extending a circle to a group of people that are as cautious. Because they have people in their circle that are, it's too dangerous. Like we do. Like with our father-in-law, like, we can't do it.
And newborn. I mean, and
newborn,
suppress people. Yeah, I mean, 100%. And, I've always been 100% open to the idea of quarantining with other people as long as we can agree on a certain set of ground rules. And if those ground rules are too extreme for somebody, then that's fine.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to be in our circle. But when we're talking about people's health, I mean, that's where we have to draw the line, right?
Yeah. And I think based on conversation with this other family, they're doing a lot of the same things we are, getting groceries delivered. They haven't been anywhere. Like, they don't do anything because of the threat. Like, we're doing the same thing. Groceries delivered, stuff arrives on my porch all the time because I don't leave the house. We're doing everything we can, and that'll at least give Sam one person to argue with, to figure stuff out with, to run around in the yard with. He
Yeah.
needs the socialization. If we can just get one person, that'd be more than nothing. So I think we're gonna go that route and just do the distance learning and just hope for the best. Hope for the
Yeah.
best. Sorry I consumed so much of the round table, but Mr. Backward
No.
Sunglasses ticks me off to no end, and I kind of want him just to eat crap and die
Yeah.
because I'm sick of people like that. Sick of them. I don't have time, patience, care for any of them because they're endangering everyone with this BS. Worse than the lady with the demon semen. Like, this is the whole. These guys
Yeah.
are awful. Anyway.
Well, and you speak of the lady with the demon semen. I mean, that's one thing that gets me kind of bothered with where we're at right now. You know, speaking of which, I got an email this past week, or not. It might not have been an email. It might have been a text. It was a text message, and it was from a family member who was talking about a letter, and I think it ultimately ended up as a Facebook post or a Twitter post. And the dude was talking about hydroxychloroquine and how he used it as a prophylactic and took it with zinc, and that he used it to treat his patients as a cocktail with either HIV drug or steroid. I can't remember. And he's basically declaring it as the miracle cure for all things coronavirus. I mean, it was pretty much panacea over there for coronavirus. Um, and what I'm struggling with here is that, you know, the science is moving really fast, and I've praised the scientists and I've praised the researchers quite a bit in this show. And the reason why I have is because they've been doing a really good job under these kind of circumstances. But we're moving so fast that it's almost dangerous. I mean, hospitals use this science and the science that's in the New England Journal of Medicine and Lancet and Science and Nature and other peer-reviewed magazines and journals um, to be able to set their policies. And when you have things that are printed as preprints or submitted articles or submitted manuscripts that have not been peer reviewed, but have now been published by said journals as pre published, then hospitals are starting to leverage that data. And that's where you start getting into this dangerous field because no longer are they peer reviewed. Um, and no longer do hospitals really have access to that level of rigor that they're used to receiving. So there's a lot of misinformation. And, you know, right now, I mean, you talk about a Facebook post, right? I mean, Facebook is king. Social media is king right now. Hell, news agencies cite Facebook and Twitter as their trusted source for a lot of their stories, right? And Bill Gates came out the other day and said, look, guys, lies spread faster than facts on social media. So science is slow. It's oftentimes boring. It takes years to make any kind of advancements, sometimes decades. It doesn't satisfy the 24-hour news cycle that we're trying to fit it in. And we're trying to have all these answers yesterday, but the science just moves at a pace that it will never be able to accomplish that. So what starts happening are these lies, or these maybe not even lies, maybe they're just misunderstandings or lack of understandings start taking over our social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter. And then that's how you get people who deny the even presence of this thing or deny that the very simple things used to treat this actually work. I mean, think about it this way. When COVID first popped up, it was a lung disease. It was really bad. And so now that you got this lung disease that's really bad and people are dying, you need a ventilator, right?
Yeah.
Then we learned, oh shit, the ventilators are killing people. I mean, 97% of people in China who were on a ventilator died. 80% of people in New York who were on a ventilator died. And so like, holy shit, no. Ventilators are bad. Ventilators are bad. Stop doing that. And so then, you know, we transferred to other things like what is it, chloroquine and
Yeah.
hydroxychloroquine and other anti-inflammation to try to reduce the inflammation in the lungs. But then the FDA came out and said, whoa, guys, this isn't working. You got to stop taking those drugs. But we don't really have the detailed peer review articles to really support those things. We have these studies that are basically supporting the FDA's findings. So then you have these lingering questions about hydroxychloroquine and saying, well, is it good? Is it bad? The FDA says this. Trump says this. It's news media says this. It fits into this 24-hour news cycle, but we don't actually answer those questions. And it might take years to actually be able to answer those questions. Hydroxychloroquine may be a perfectly appropriate treatment if it's coupled with something like a steroid, like dexamethasone or something like that. Or hell, other drugs. Sarilimab is one. That's a rheumatoid arthritis drug that some doctors have been touting. I mean, we talked about it earlier today. Some doctors have been touting blood thinners like warfarin or anticoagulants like warfarin, or hell, just aspirin has been tried. Because what happened in New York, there were autopsies. Autopsies said there are blood clots. Blood clots, you need warfarin or some kind of anticoagulant. Let's give them warfarin. So we're trying to throw the book at this. And then, doctors start looking at what was the antiviral they tried to use? Kaletra, that's what it was. The HIV antiretroviral that they tried to use. That didn't work worth a shit, and that was proven out pretty quickly that didn't work. And then remdesivir comes up. That's the Ebola drug from Gilead. That seemed to work okay for a little while, right? And then we had, but it only works in really the people who don't require hospitalizations. The steroids came out, the dexamethasone, and they look pretty good. But we need a lot more data on those, especially in populations like the Black population or any other kind of ethnicity, because those are some of the populations that are really being affected by this. And then, of course, you got the current Trump train, which is the convalescent plasma, which is just essentially blood plasma that's taken out of people that had coronavirus, and you spin it down and you take their plasma, which has antibodies, and deliver it to patients that are currently battling it. And that's showing some promise, right? So, I mean, there's some things that are showing promise. But if you look at all of that, and back to the family member that sent me this, I mean, the bottom line here is that doctors are throwing everything at this, and they're throwing it based on what they're seeing. They're seeing blood clots. Okay, let's try warfarin. We're seeing kidney problems. Okay, let's try dialysis. We're seeing lung problems. Okay, let's try hydroxychloroquine, or let's try a ventilator. Steroids may work. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They're trying everything they can, and it's not that they have any ill will or that they're not trying to be snake doctors. Because I think whenever I reached out to this family member was like, oh yeah, they're all snake doctors. And I'm like, no, they're good people. They're just trying to do the best they can, and they're trying to figure this out and give you a set of treatments that actually work. And they're just trying to do good. But the problem with doing good like this is it becomes anecdotal fodder for places like Facebook, for places like Twitter, and it gets the masses stirred up. And then you get videos like this video that you guys keep referring to about demon spawn and alien DNA and hydroxychloroquine and things like that. We're struggling right now. And I look at the information and I go, where do you guys get your information from? Because that really plays an important role in all of this. And trust yourself, guys. You guys are smart people. Vet your information carefully, and read it with a discerning eye. And don't just buy some of this bullshit that's being spread out there. That's really just the titillizing media posts that are geared toward getting clicks instead of actually informing the mass public. So that's my rant, because I know Adam of Geekheim got me going on hydroxychloroquine, and that kind of got me down a rabbit hole of thinking about what we've tried. So there you go, Adam. That was for you.
That was a really good rant. Not only was that a good rant, Jacob, that was a really good timeline from the beginning, because I think it has been a long time since we've really considered where we started. And where we are now. And if you really look at it, we've been at this since like late January. We were starting to see cases in the US, right? Like we were starting to see, I think late January, we got one through Wake County Airport. We got one through Seattle.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that, or early February, because we had just come back from Disney. I think
it was early February, because it was right after you guys got back from Disney, because that was at the end of February, right?
Right. We had just got back from Disney World, and we found out, like, oh, Disney World's closing. But yeah, it's been a long time really in the speed of the news cycle, it's been a long time. It hasn't been a long time at the speed of science. I think that was a really good thing that you brought up, is that we are, honest to goodness, the approach to trying to treat this is an episode of House MD. Like, we're just throwing everything.
Actually, that's fantastic. What a great analogy.
It's just your, and my hope, and I don't know that this is happening, but my hope is that doctors are not trying to be the doctor that solves it, because there's a lot of narcissistic tendency and stuff in every organization to be the one that gets it.
Oh,
We're going to be the one that gets it, or worse, I'm going to be the one that gets it. That's it's fine if a company wants to be the one that gets it, because that creates some competition to some degree. But when you're that one guy, like this doctor out in Phoenix or whatever we got sent, this is the one guy that wants to like desperately get in touch with Trump with his cocktail, and this is solving everything. And it's like, is it solving everything? Because you're the one doctor that's sending a letter to Trump. You should be sending letters and communication to all the other doctors in your circle, whoever you can talk to, and try to get this vetted externally before you just go running to the White House and going, I've got it. I've got the paper that says this is it. Eureka! Eureka! I've written it up. And he may be doing that. I don't mean to discount him completely, but
I think your point is well taken. Egos are present no matter what field you're in, and to believe that they're not is you're deluding yourself. I mean, every doctor wants to believe that he's got the hour, she's got the idea that cures it all.
Yeah.
Right? And they're going to tout it, and they're going to push it, and they're going to, even if it fits their narrative, like this doctor out of California that this was about. He takes it as a prophylactic. I mean, come on. If that doesn't tell you that he's sold hook, line, and sinker, then I don't know what will.
Yeah. Og actually cracks me up. No ego here. When something goes wrong at work, I assume I did it. It's a kindred spirit with me. I'm like, oh shoot, something broke. I've never even touched that before. It's probably my fault. That's pretty good. No, but it is Wild Wild West, and to some degree you need it. I mean, look back at the things we've done as a society for hundreds of years in terms of treating things. Like, until proven wrong, you got nothing else. Like, but we bled George Washington to death and killed him. Like, these are things that were considered normal science. I mean, for a while, hydroxychloroquine could have been, without the internet, without the constant communication, without the nationwide approach, the global approach, we could have considered hydroxychloroquine the only thing we could do for a long time in certain areas of the world. We're at a point where, sure, it was for a hot minute, but now we're not so sure. Ventilators, we're not. That's basically been thrown out the window. Never mind the ventilator. If you get on a ventilator, you got like a 10% chance of making it off that thing.
And the really sad thing is that we're making ventilators. I mean, listen to Trump's. I've been listening to him quite frequently, and his press conferences, because I'm really interested in what the guy has to say and how he's trying to sell this. And he's still touting the fact that we're killing it with the ventilators. I mean, other countries are looking to the U.S. to lead, and the way we're leading them is to ventilators, which we have pretty much proven that if you go on a ventilator, you've got a pretty high percentage chance of dying, upwards of 80% chance of dying. So we're supposed to be the ones who are leading this charge, and we're supplying ventilators, Stephen.
Hey, we're doing it. We're doing the best we can. But anyway, you guys, we have a lot of news, so we should start.
I know we got a lot of news, and we just ranted. I feel like, thank you guys for letting us rant and letting us vent, because this is definitely stuff that's been bottled up for both of us for this week. But we do apologize that it took such a tough turn today.
It's worthwhile conversation, man. It's something that I think. I mean, what's a podcast without a bunch of fussing about things, you know? But we got to get to the news. We got to start tearing through this. We got to let the world know what's up. First off, FSU to bar employees working from home to care for kids at the same time. You know that Jackie Chan picture where he's just like, what is going on? That's what I'm doing right now. Working parents employed by Florida State University just had a bombshell dropped on them. If they work from home, they will no longer be able to care for their children at the same time. In March 2020, the university communicated an exception to the policy that allowed employees to work for children at home on a temporary remote work agreement. Effective August 7th, the university will return to normal policy and will no longer allow employees to care for children while working remotely. Sorry, kid, you're going to have to sit over there in your own crap because I've got to work. If employees do not have daycare...
Can't change your diaper.
Can't change your diaper. Sorry, I'll get fired. If employees do not have daycare options or choose not to send their children to school in the fall, they should work with their supervisors to identify a flexible work schedule that allows them to fulfill their work duties and family responsibilities. So you're not allowed to work from home and care for your children, but you could talk to your manager and potentially work from home and care for your children. That's what I just read out of that.
Or work nights, one or the other.
Or work nights. After getting backlash on social media on Monday, the university gave an update. They specified, to make it even clearer, the policy only applies to employees whose job duties require them to be on campus full-time during normal business hours, and specifically excludes professors. Those wonderful human beings who come in, say some words, and leave. Occasionally one will care, but most of the time they're tenured. They're just like, whatever. Some FSU employees said this only made things worse because the policy targeted workers who don't have job security of a tenured professor. My question is, if your job requires you full-time all the time anyway, how on earth were you remote working from home? Either you're needed on the campus or you aren't needed on the campus.
Yeah, Stephen, I think that is a great question. And more questions coming out of Florida. So 4 days into the Major League Baseball season, there is chaos and a lot of hard questions for the return of sports. Major League Baseball has opened an investigation involving the Miami Marlins coronavirus outbreak, trying to determine the cause of 16 players and 2 coaches who have tested positive and forced a shutdown of their season for a week. A high-ranking person with direct knowledge of the investigation told USA Sports Today. Thank you. Major League Baseball has yet to determine whether the Marlins players will be paid for the postponed games if they are unable to play every game in a 60-game season. But they will pay the Philadelphia Phillies and New York Yankees and Washington Nationals for the games that they are missed because of the Marlins outbreak. Major League Baseball will delay making any decisions on the Marlins until it's known how many games will be missed and whether any health and safety protocols were violated. From my understanding, the Miami Marlins, and we'll talk about this more in our deep dive because I think this is something that we want to chat about. But my understanding is that clubhouse culture decided to go out and have a little bit of fun and all got together and ultimately down in the middle of a hot spot and ultimately succumbed. And a couple of them got it and passed it along to their friends in the clubhouse. And, it's locker room culture, dude. And next thing you know, all of them have it.
COVID's a hoax, Jacob. A Florida man, as if we couldn't get enough Florida.
More Florida.
Received millions of dollars in coronavirus aid, and he used it to buy a Lamborghini. I've been wanting to read this story for a week, Jacob, but I knew it was going to be on the show, and I didn't want to know anything about it. Before May 13th, David T. Hines' corporate bank account was in the red by more than $30,000. But after the 29-year-old Florida man nabbed a nearly $4 million loan from the federal Paycheck Protection Program, his fortunes quickly changed. In fact, just 1 week after receiving money from the fund meant to bail out businesses affected by the coronavirus pandemic, Hines was cruising around Miami Beach in a new blue Lamborghini Huracan Evo, which costs more than $318,000. Now, federal prosecutors say Hines illegally used hundreds of thousands of dollars in PPP loans meant for his moving companies to buy the car, as well as host of personal expenses, including shopping sprees and high-end hotel stays, instead of covering his company's payroll. The Justice Department announced Monday he was arrested and charged with making false statements to a lending institution, bank fraud, and engaging in transactions in unlawful proceeds. David is a legitimate business owner who, like millions of Americans, suffered financially during the pandemic, said Chad Piotrowski, Hines' attorney. While the allegations appear very serious, especially in light of the pandemic, David is anxious to tell his side of the story when the time comes, and we're anxious to hear it, David.
Can't wait for this.
Somebody pop some popcorn. My big question is, if David's not allowed to have a Lamborghini, why is the CEO of name any company that got a PPP loan allowed to get a bonus sometime later this year?
They will all get bonuses. And you want to know what they're going to spend those bonuses on, Stephen?
Blue Lamborghini Huracans.
No, ice cream sales are up with more people at home, but deodorant sales are down. With
Ooh.
social distancing in full effect and people being forced to quarantine at home due to the pandemic, fewer people are going into offices to work or out to socialize. This has led to fewer people grabbing that stick of deodorant to roll on before they go out, and people lounging at home watching Netflix with a tub of ice cream in hand. Consumer goods company Unilever said on Thursday that demands for personal care items have slumped. The company, which owns brands such as Dove soap and Axe deodorant, said the lockdowns have led to decline in sales. It hasn't been all bad for Unilever, though. The company owns ice cream brands such as Breyers, Ben and Jerry's, Magnum, and I thought that was condoms.
Yeah, me too.
And ice and ice cream sales are up as people are consuming more foods at home. Sales of ice cream, sales of ice cream people consumed at home increased by 15% in the first half of the year, and sales are even higher at 26% between April and June. The Unilever said the jump in ice cream sales at home was significantly offsetting to the loss of sales in public places. The company said
That's
people are buying ice
amazing.
cream, man.
Yeah, no kidding. I also find it fascinating that Unilever owns Dove, which is a enjoy your body, be who you are company, while Axe is like a get the hot chicks company,
Yeah,
which
that
seems to
that was
be
kind of a
completely
juxtaposition there.
opposing viewpoints. If you ask me, great marketing between the two, actually not different companies. The CDC, 1/3 of COVID-19 patients who aren't hospitalized have long-term illness. 1/3 end up hurting for a while, you guys. The CDC acknowledged Friday that a significant number of COVID-19 patients do not recover quickly and instead experience ongoing symptoms such as fatigue and cough. As many as 1/3 of patients who were never sick enough to be hospitalized are not back to their usual health up to 3 weeks after their diagnosis. That's a long time to be sick, you guys. Uh, the
Yes,
reports
3 weeks.
the report's authors wrote COVID 19 can result in prolonged illness even among persons with milder outpatient illness, including young adults. The CDC report is based on telephone surveys of 274 COVID 19 patients. 95 of those patients, or 35%, said they had not returned to their usual state of health when they were surveyed, which was at least 2 to 3 weeks after their first test. The reports indicate that even among symptomatic adults tested in outpatient settings, it might take weeks for resolution of symptoms and a return to usual health, the CDC authors wrote. The CDC added that preventative measures such as physical distancing, face masks, and frequent hand washing continue to be important to slow the spread. This is news, but
News.
you guys should know hand washing, face covering, and distancing. I mean, it's the Triforce. It's the Triforce of power, baby. Boosh. Get them triangles up.
Ashley, if she's listening in the chat, will go nuts that you just made a Zelda reference. The
You
next
know
story is going to be a little. That's right, baby.
it.
The next story is going to be a little bit difficult, and we have actually done a story similar to this in Italy. And Kelly and Zafo, you could probably give us a little bit more information because it's down in your neck of the woods. But a Texas hospital is so overrun with coronavirus cases that officials say that it will start sending the patients least likely to survive home to die. A hospital in Starr County, Texas, is so overrun with coronavirus cases that officials there said that it would choose which patients to use the resource on and send those most likely to die back to their families. Dr. Jose Vasquez, the health authority of Starr County, said that the county was creating guidelines to help health workers decide who to use resources on patients with the best chance of survival. Vasquez added that a committee would decide which patients were most likely to die and would send them home.
Obama's death
Death
panels.
panels. Yeah, Obama's death panels. Exactly right. The situation is desperate here, he said. We cannot continue to function in Starr County Memorial Hospital, nor in the country the way things are going. The numbers are staggering. Vasquez said the county sends coronavirus patients daily to other parts of Texas and to other states, but the hospitals in Texas and the nearby states are now becoming overwhelmed. There is nowhere to put these patients. The whole state of Texas and neighboring states have no ICU beds to spare for us. He added that for some patients, we believe that they will be better taken care of in the love of their own family in their home rather than thousands of miles away and dying alone. The decisions are reminiscent to the decisions made at doctors in Italy in March. And then it goes on to talk about that a little bit. But yeah, we covered that story in March, which is unbelievably sad, and it looks like it's happening in some locations here.
And you would never consider like hospital trading patients. Like, oh, we've got no beds, we'll move them over there. Like, this opens up an entirely new line of SimCity city agreements. If you end up with the Grand Plague, which I don't think is an option in SimCity, but much like you can trade trash to other cities or buy water or power, maybe they add an option for hospital usage that we work in. Tragic. No one likes it. It's a nuisance.
It's tough,
option.
man.
That's
it's
the way
tough. I mean, things that you never thought you were going to talk about back in March.
Oh no, we didn't. We are the United States of America, dagnabbit. We got this under control. Now
that's happening over there in Italy. It's not happening here in our backyard.
Yeah. Dude, there's a book by a guy. That was the worst introduction, but there's a book by a guy called "It Can't Happen Here" that was written in like the 1950s regarding World War II type takeovers and how it slowly just grows like a cancer. And before you know it, and that's similar to this. It can't happen here, and that happened in Italy. They are totally different. They have different infrastructure. Everybody's a smoker. All these other reasons that we made up. The older population, like y'all, Texas, man, Texas. The stars at night are big and bright.
That's right, baby, Texas.
Yeah. I got Zafo and Kelly both to do that when I said that because they can't help it. Texans just do that. It's kind of how it works. Now for some fun. Trained dogs were able to sniff out COVID-19 infections with 94% accuracy. I've heard this about dogs. This is super cool.
So rad.
Dogs.
By the way, they can also detect tuberculosis.
That's super cool. Like Doc Holliday's hanging out, and the dog's like, "Dude, you're gonna die." Dogs have smell receptors up to 10,000 times more powerful and accurate than humans. That allows certain trained dogs to sniff out diseases like cancer, malaria, and viral infections. Now, according to German researchers, trained dogs can sniff out coronavirus infections. A new study found that if properly trained, dogs were able to discriminate between human saliva samples infected with SARS-CoV-2 and non-infected samples with 94% success rate. The hope is this method of detection could one day be used in areas such as airports, sporting events, and other mass gatherings, in addition to laboratory testing to help future COVID-19 outbreaks. In a YouTube video about the project, Maren von Kokritz-Blickweld, a professor at the university who conducted the study, says they think dogs are able to do this because the metabolic processes of an infected person completely change. While more research is still needed, von Kokritz-Blickweld says the next step is to train dogs to differentiate between COVID-19 samples from other diseases like influenza. This is a big deal. Now, I don't know what the benefit, like if you're really to break down cost of training a dog, time spent training a dog, get the dog to be able to sniff out COVID-19 in a football stadium. Like, if we're still at a point where COVID-19's in this predicament where we need COVID-sniffing dogs, we probably don't need, be it a sporting event or be it a movie theater or be it an airport. And like, I understand the usefulness and it's a fascinating study. I just don't see me licking a piece of paper and letting a dog smell it on my way in to a Durham Bulls game. Maybe that's what we do.
Think about it at the airport. I don't know if you've been to the airport at 5:30 in the morning, but at 5:30 in the morning when you walk in the airport, there are definitely drug sniffing dogs that you have to walk by. So, but maybe this is the next drug sniffing dog thing.
Right, but can they smell it? Can they smell it on you? I want more information. Like, do they have to sniff the saliva, or can they just smell it on you?
I did actually edit this story a little bit because it was a little bit long, and I wanted to conduct the studies. Researchers trained 8 dogs from Germany's armed forces for 1 week. I believe they were German Shepherds. The trained dogs sniffed the saliva of more than 1,000 people that were either healthy or infected with the virus. Samples infected with COVID-19 were distributed at random, and neither the dog handlers nor the researchers on site knew which ones were positive. And they were able to test it with 94% accuracy in a randomized study of 1,000 samples.
I think what I got out of that,
pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think what I got out of that was most fascinating to me is that it's a German military and they're using German Shepherds, because I would have been really disappointed if they were like, they use golden retrievers. It would have made me feel like we weren't doing something right. Like,
from my understanding, they're actually using Brittany's. So if you want, you could send Dodger over there and have him trade. You might not get him back though, Steven.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me, Stephanie. I've got a great idea.
94% accuracy, Stephanie. 94%.
94%. I promise they'll send it back. No problem. I'm sure of it. I had the dog guy. We were going to get this dog. Small tangent. He referred to you could only ship dogs across to Europe in liquid form, and I didn't know what he meant. It took me quite a little bit to finally figure out what dog in liquid form meant. He meant you're sending dog semen over to London to breed. But he
I
kept
thought you
saying,
had to like boil them and turn them into liquid.
right? I was like, Breaking Bad to this dog? Like, what the deal? What's going on? And it's like, no, it's liquid form. I thought that was a fascinating way for him to put that. He was a good old boy. Had a deer logo. You know, deer hunters, they got that logo, like Browning or something. I can't remember.
It's the Browning logo.
The Browning logo with the Confederate flag, stars and bars in it. So he was rocking it, baby, tattooed on his leg.
Was that tattooed on his leg?
Tattooed on his leg.
Flag, Browning,
Confederate
tattooed on his
Browning
leg.
logo. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
and do you want to hear the really sad thing? That's 10 minutes out, 15 minutes outside of
ain't that far
a major
away.
Metropolitan area.
It ain't that far away, y'all. It's not just happening in the sticks. But yeah, like, dude, if you want to get a rebel flag, get the Don't Tread on Me or something. Like, go way back. And let's get something that's not like wrapped up in whatever it's wrapped up in. We don't need to go there, but this is my 2 cents.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
That's not a place that Staring at Goats travels. We travel to coronavirus.
We travel to coronavirus, and that's right. So did lots of people travel to coronavirus. People traveled. I think we hammered down school. We wanted to deep dive. By the way, we're in the deep dive. We wanted to hammer down some school stuff. I think we did a pretty good job earlier.
We did. I will tell you, and I made reference to this about schools last week. But I watched the school board actually discuss the reopening plans here in the county that we live in, and I was quite thoroughly impressed. And so I'm not. They're taking it with the seriousness that I believe they need to take it. Now, the decision they made, it was this hybrid of, and I think most places went to this, which was the hybrid of the virtual and in-person schooling. The only question I have for you, Stephen, is this. Do you believe that when schools reopen, we are going to see an increase or a decrease in cases associated with reopening of schools?
So logically, you would think you would see an increase of cases for sure. But what they've seen in other environments, like Europe, for instance, I mean, I know Europe's an entirely different situation, but like if you look at the grand swath of people in school in France and whatnot, they mainly keep a flatter trajectory. It doesn't like all of a sudden explode. It stays pretty basic. It's not the right word. Like flat. Like it doesn't really blow
level
up, but it doesn't really go away. It just kind of stays level. And I don't know
it's
what
an undertone of coronavirus that's constantly propagating.
Right. It's the hum of the distant universe just continuing to be in the background. It's the background noise. And like I want to believe that would happen here. I just also know that society in America is a lot different than society in France, Europe, China, wherever you want to point. Everywhere. We're an odd bird, really, when it comes down to it. And I think you're probably going to see increases. Yeah. Maybe not massive spikes, but I think a steady increase is probably possible. Because kids are passing it around, man. Your two neighbors, they got it because they're kids.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier at dinner, Jacob. I don't think you can expect much more of a teenager. I mean, we tell our kids and our teenagers to be responsible all the time. You still have teen pregnancy. Yeah. And that's a pretty dire thing. And they still manage to screw that up.
Even more of that point is this. You can't expect 5, 6, 7-year-olds to behave in a way that you would behave, or you would hope they would behave with their 25 or let's say 40-year-old brains, right? I mean, they're 5 years old, for God's sake. They're going to go out and play with their friends. And
they don't.
You could tell them to wear a mask. You can tell them to wash their hands. You could tell them to be socially distant. But over time, that's going to get tiresome, and they're not going to adhere to that long term. It might be great for 2 weeks. I mean, they might be able to nail it for 2 weeks, but to expect a 5-year-old to do that constantly is asking a lot. And I'm just not sure that we're in a position as a country to be able to expect that kind of performance out of a 5-year-old.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right, and that's one of the concerns about kindergarten classes. Well, kids don't spread it that badly. Well, what, like, where? That's what I'm interested in. People say children don't spread it. What is the facts behind that? Do you have any information on that?
We actually talked about it last week. If you look at Florida, Florida tested a whole bunch of kids, over 16,000 kids, and 31% of them had it. And we're talking
Yeah.
about kids that are 18 or under.
Yeah,
And when 31% have it, that doesn't mean that they're not transmitting it, guys. That means that they're transmitting the shit out of it.
yeah,
We just don't know it because they're asymptomatic, because it's not affecting them nearly as heavily, or as nearly as hard. Granted, don't get me wrong, there are still some kids that are unbelievably affected by this. I mean,
mm-hmm.
there are some kids that have died from this. So I'm not going to discount that, because I don't think that's appropriate. But what I will say is, just to say that they don't get it because they're either asymptomatic or their symptoms are reduced is a fallacy. Number one, and number two, it doesn't also mean that they're not transmitting it to their families as well. Now,
Yeah.
they do say that the transmission rates might be lower. Again, I don't know the details of how kids are spreading it and the exact data behind it. I just know that in Florida, 31% of them tested positive last week. That kind of blew my mind. So it made me go back and question everything I've heard to date about transmission. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm still unclear. Right now, my gut says they're probably transmitting it.
And I think when I've heard things related to students or kids under 18, it's mostly teenagers that people worry about, middle schoolers, because their social sphere is so much bigger.
Yeah.
And they hey, guess what, guys? Middle school kids make out with each other, share drinks. They're much more likely to do those kinds of activities than a kindergartner. Surprisingly enough, kindergartners and first graders pretty much go to school and go home. And unless they're being taken somewhere, they're their parents, then they're not really wanting to socialize in that respect, unless it's in their front yard or whatever. It's a much more narrow space. With middle schoolers and high schoolers, especially, who are driving, I mean, hey, all bets are off. They're doing whatever they want to do, and they're invincible, as we heard last week on All Gas, No Brakes. But one thing that those, yeah.
No, go ahead. One thing that what?
No. I was about to pivot. So you.
Oh no, I don't want to pivot from this just yet. Well, I mean, I'm kind of going to pivot a little bit, but here's a question. Og raises a good point in the chat. He says, "Wait till it gets colder."
Yeah.
The symptoms for the flu are very, very similar to the symptoms for COVID-19, especially in I mean, you're talking about coughing and colds and lung problems and other things, temperatures, fevers, etc. When the flu goes rampant, how are schools planning on distinguishing between COVID and between the influenza virus? Because 50 plus million people a year, 60 million people a year get the influenza or get influenza. That's a hell of a lot of people. So how are you going to distinguish between the symptoms?
You don't. You just, if you've got a temperature, you go home. And you get tested for COVID, you get tested for flu. I think you're just going to have to get both. As we know, the COVID is much more contagious than the flu. It transmits way easier. You're talking about the flu, you're usually going to pass it to one other person. With COVID, you're going to pass it to two, most likely, and that's the exponential growth with COVID. So I think it's a much greater threat. And the flu, we have vaccines for. We get it every year. I know some people are really anti-flu vaccine. It makes me sick. It hurts. I don't understand why I get it. I had the flu in high school. I never want to get the flu again. It was the most sick I've ever been in my life. I remember that week laying on the couch trying to enjoy Price is Right with Bob Barker at the time. It was a wonderful golden age of television, and not being able to enjoy it, and my skin, just everything on my body hurt. Breathing hurt, my skin hurt, my face hurt. And there was
For
no.
2 weeks, I'm sure. How
It
long
was.
were you
It was.
were you down?
I was lucky. It was 1 week. It was like a Saturday to Saturday kind of thing.
Still. Mm.
I missed a week of school, and they give you your homework, but you don't want it. Like whatever. It sucked balls, and I don't ever want to go there again. So I get my flu shot. If COVID-19 shot comes along, and they're like, this vaccine's proven effective for at least 2 months on 99% effective for 2 months on a person. I'll be like, you're gonna see me at that CVS every 2 months. My insurance will pay for it. I'm on it. Now, was it safe for people without insurance, Jacob? I don't know. This is America. You only get insurance if you work. Maybe. Maybe. And that, like, who knows? Who knows what that's going to mean for the public as a whole? Maybe this is the thing that pivots us for, despite the pros and cons of whatever system, to some system that takes care of that for us. Because at this point, you're talking about a disease like this isn't, I have a kidney failure. I don't know why I picked that. But it's like this thing, the lowest common denominator, the person that doesn't want to give it to anybody but can't get insurance is the person that's going to affect the people with insurance anyway.
That's right.
So it's like there's no one cares. Like a Facebook post I saw the other day. No one cares if you're white or black, rich or poor. You're anti-masker or pro-masker or Republican or Democrat. A disease is a disease, y'all. It doesn't matter. If it's going to get you, it's going to get you. You can spread it to other people in completely different environments.
That's right.
We need to attack this thing as a unified group of people because it's a human problem.
So that's a question. That's another question. And we're going to go down a rabbit hole here.
All right, let's do it.
So scientists, I feel like an unbelievably unified group right now. Doctors, an unbelievably unified group. Nurses, unified group. Everybody working in unison to try to make this happen. Even a lot of the emergency management personnel, unified group, right? Everybody's pulling out all the stops to try to make it as to try to make the response as effective as possible. Politicians not acting in any way as a unified group whatsoever. Why is it that the rest of the country can prove that we are an awesome society down in its core, but then you have such awful nastiness happening that's getting all the publicity?
That's a really interesting thing to consider. Why is a group, why are we as a people? I think you hit that on the nail head. I have faith in people in general. I have faith that people want the best things to happen. I think that when you're a bunch of dudes on an oil rig, it doesn't matter what you believe as long as you're getting the oil out of there and everybody's staying alive. And that's the same thing when you're in space. I don't care whether you're a Republican or Democrat. Your job is to get to space safely and to get home safely. And the way you do that is through procedure. Very outlined, well-practiced procedure. Science is the same way. We get to discoveries because people poke at stuff that they know is safe to poke at. And then they share that poke with other people. And those other people...
You share the poke with people, guys. You share that poke.
Share the poke. And the people go, I tried that poke in my experiments, and I didn't have the same result. Hey, Joe over there, did you have the same result? Joe goes, yeah, I actually got the same result. We better pull in somebody else. Hey, Cletus, did you have the same result?
That's right.
And then as time goes, you start to figure out, okay, well, it looks like based on the 300 scientists that tried this particular procedure, about 75% of them came up with the same result. That's pretty good. And then you have to work in like who did this or that wrong, who used a different shaped container to do the experiment that may have affected things because of volume. There's all kinds of stuff. I don't even know where I'm going.
Then you start getting into the minutia and the details and trying to figure out why things work and why things don't. Yeah.
Why is you should wear a mask to protect your fellow man such a big thing? Why is that? Why is there a guy who was wandering around with no mask because he was an anti-masker, COVID positive in Congress, attending meetings and about to get on Air Force One with the president before he finally found out he had it? Why is that? Why did that happen? And why is his thing like what did he say tonight? Now I've said it and I don't remember what the big catch was. Somebody posted it in Discord that he came out and said some other stupid stuff. I don't know. Somebody else find it for me. But it basically was like, oh, well, this is different for me. It was basically an explanation along those lines. That's not different. You're a person. People carry disease. It's not a secret. We've known this for hundreds of years. We learned this in 1918. We talked about that today. There were anti-maskers during the Spanish flu epidemic that lasted 2 years because there are people calling mask wearers fattists. Do not fall in with the fattists who wear their mask. Just die with the rest of us for 2 years. I have no doubt we're going to be in this for 2 years. Because people, as I mentioned today in a text message with Jacob and Ashley, people don't change. Society doesn't change. We just continue to not learn from our past. Because if every generation learned from the mistakes of their past, there wouldn't be any war. There wouldn't be any famine. There wouldn't be any disasters that humans cause. There wouldn't be, because we would have learned that none of it ever works and everybody just dies. But we don't.
I think your wording was there would be no isms at this point.
There would be no isms. There'd be no racism, sexism, nothing, because we've learned that all those things don't work. But we haven't. We don't.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious because if you look at where we're at as a society, I believe deep in the core we're there. We're good. We're trying to look out for our fellow man. I believe if you had a one-on-one discussion with everybody in this country, well, most people in this country.
Except about one dude on Facebook with the backwards sunglasses and the tribal tattoo.
I believe if you had a one-on-one conversation with that douche nugget, that you could probably come to some kind of common ground, at least in a discussion. Where I think that you start getting this, I guess, departure from that is whenever you start looking at the extremes. And I believe that's all we want to talk about in Facebook or on Twitter or looking at the news media. That's really what they want to talk about is how do I get clicks? So let's give the people what they want and what we can get them to click on, which means that we're going to have to pit one person against the other. There's always got to be a good. There's always got to be an evil. There's always got to be a right. There's always got to be a wrong. And for people who hold those extreme positions, I feel bad for you because you're missing out on the opportunity to actually have a real meaningful discourse with people. You're so entrenched in your own personal viewpoints and your own belief system, and you've internalized that so much that has now become who you are, that you can no longer have these kind of meaningful exchanges with people. I mean, charitable discourse in this country is gone in a public fashion in the media. But what's not gone is charitable discourse person to person. I believe if you sit somebody down and actually have those conversations, you guys can have some pretty good conversations, but we don't do it anymore.
I think you would have to whittle. I think you'd have to whittle them down. I think it would be a more than one event. But yeah,
I'm not arguing. Wait. Yeah. I'm not arguing that it's going to sit down and it's all going to be peaches and everything's going to be rosy. What I'm arguing is that you can have at least some sort of discourse. Mm-hmm. It may not be perfect and it may not be the resolution that you're looking for, but I bet you'll learn something, and I bet they'll learn something, and I bet you'll be able to actually have some kind of meaningful discussion.
Yeah, the key is to have it respectfully and understand like where someone's coming from. We have this saying we use at work: assume positive intent. That not everybody's a hate monger just for hate reasons. They've got something in their life or in their circle that's caused them to think a certain way when it's just really jacked up. And that, like, I think some of the people that end up turning KKK members and neo-Nazis and stuff find that avenue. They figure out where that came from and work on it and just kind of massage that muscle and figure out why is it so tense? Why is it so hateful? And they look at him like a project. Like, I'm going to come in there and I just want to talk to you. There's a dude who's turned like 250 KKK members because he's got to find out where that. Like, I told Sam this when Sam was really young. We were talking about bullies. I don't know why we got on bullies, but I was telling him out in the front yard one day. I said something like, bullies are people who just don't have something they need, and they're using people they feel inferior to them to try and get the thing they need. And it's not going to work, but I said sometimes those bullies are somebody that didn't get a hug, didn't have somebody tell them they love them, weren't met with kindness when they should have been. Mm-hmm. And they turn around and they take that same pain and they put it on someone else. And my neighbor kid, like, he overheard me. He's like, that was beautiful.
He's like college age, right?
Yeah, he's college age. Yeah, Joe was standing out there.
I love how you refer to a college kid as a kid. I just did the same thing. Shit.
Yeah. I met him when he was 18. He's like 22 or 23 now. I'm like, how'd you grow? That's weird. But yeah, he was like, that's beautiful. Cause it's true. I think in most cases it's true, but it's just like me and Jockface Turbo Douche on Facebook. Like, I could probably sit down with him and find common ground somewhere and then grow something. Cause I mean, we both want to send our kids to the same school. We probably got some common ground.
Oh yeah,
but I'm not going to do that. I've already written him off as a freaking moron.
As a jack nugget to society.
Yeah, and that's on me. That's on me. I'll never reach him with that kind of feeling.
Well, speaking of jack nuggets, let's get into the Miami Marlins because
I have
really
the best segue, and you robbed it from me, Jacob.
Oh no! I'm sorry. I used jack nuggets. What was going to be your segue?
You lose. Good day, sir.
I was going to say, speaking of pitting people against each other in the political arena, let's talk about how we could potentially be pitting people against each other in a more sensible place, like sports, Jacob.
Oh, that's so much better. You have completely owned me. You have given the people what they want, which is a reason why you are the host and I am just a guest on this show. Is because you are a master of the English language, sir.
Okay. On to the sports, Jacob.
On to the sports. So Miami Marlins, 16 people, 2 coaches, tested positive, Stephen. This is nearly the entire team. The team only consists of 26 people. 16 of them have COVID. Period. That's almost the whole team. They couldn't even put an entire team out on the field, even if the people that didn't have COVID were allowed to play. They wouldn't be able to fill out all the positions at this moment. So they cannot play. So Major League Baseball canceling the next 5 games or 6 games or however many they did. To me, that's disingenuous to what really is going on there. They couldn't even field a team. So Major League Baseball had to say, okay, well, guys, you can't play because you don't have enough to field a team, number one. And number two, you got COVID, guys. Come on. And for them to get it in the way that they got it, which is partying in the Miami scene that's already a hot spot, seems a little... We're in this war right now of trying to figure out how to reopen and how not to reopen. And they have just given people the reason and the rationale for what can go wrong on 4 days in. Day 4, Stephen.
And I mean, they act like this is going to go, we'll just put the Marlins on the sideline and that'll solve our problem. Major League Baseball is living in a dreamland, Jacob. They're living in a completely delusional dreamland. So far, there's 2 sports that have tried to do stuff, basketball and baseball. Both of them has failed. Both of them have found COVID-19 infiltrate their ranks. Like, baseball, I don't know what it is with baseball, but why on earth did they go party? Like, I'll give it, the basketball team might have wanted a burger at McDonald's and left the secret bubble. You know?
No. They didn't want a burger at McDonald's. They wanted wings from the strip club.
Okay, now that's
what the guy wanted, was wings from because even Johnny Manziel agreed that those are the best damn wings that they sell in Atlanta. It was at the strip club.
Oh my gosh. I have to keep that in mind. Maybe it's that weird old strip club that George Lowe was talking about with Mindy.
Oh, what was it? It was Chester's or what was? Damn it! What's the name of that place in Atlanta?
Remember. The Cavalier, the Chesterino, oh man. I don't remember.
Shoot, I do not remember what it was.
I just remember how gross the visual of it was. But yeah, I've never been to a strip club, so I don't know why you would want to eat a sandwich or wings or anything while you're just watching. I don't get it, but it's just me.
Nope.
I don't know why you would have a business lunch at the strip club, but people do it every day. So whatever, more power to you. But anyway, back to the sports ball.
Back to the sports ball, guys.
So baseball, Jacob, we've talked about this a couple times, and I wanted to talk about it on the show. But back in the early 90s, I don't remember if it was 90-91 season or 91-92 season, baseball had a rough go there for a little while. There was the Minnesota Twins or cheating scandal for the World Series, and there was the strike. The strike led to the cancellation of the season for the year, pretty much, if I remember correctly. Jacob, that was a strike about money, paying people cash money. 94.95 is what Ace Tiger said. This is a health issue. Like,
this is a pandemic, guys.
Can we not cancel baseball for a season? And just, I mean, the Durham Bulls aren't playing, Jacob.
Nope, they're not.
I mean,
how about this? I don't mind people trying to play baseball, and I don't mind people trying to play basketball. I think basketball actually had a pretty good idea with the bubble. They've found some potential flaws, and they're trying to correct them. But I will say, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, came out and said, "Look, if we start seeing an outbreak of COVID here, we're shutting it down. This is not gonna happen. So if COVID infiltrates here, we're shutting this bitch down."
Well, let me ask you. No, go ahead. No, you go.
Well, so I applaud them for trying to figure out ways to make these games happen. What I'm struggling with here is that with baseball, they really didn't implement too many changes other than really no fans. I mean, yeah, they implemented some masks and some other things, and they tried to implement some social distancing things. But the clubhouse culture is really what I want to talk about here, because I do not believe that in a clubhouse you can have a culture that would actually lend itself well to these kind of restrictions. I've been in locker rooms. I grew up in locker rooms. I spent the first over half of my life so far in locker rooms every single day. And I fully appreciate that culture. And that culture would not be very receptive to these kind of restrictions. So it's either one, you eliminate that culture, which isn't going to happen, or number two, you put them outside of their normal everyday mode and put them in a situation like the NBA did with the bubble, and they can't create that kind of culture. It's much more difficult to actually recreate that kind of locker room culture that would be that resistant. And Major League Baseball did none of that. They just basically said, "Oh yeah, you guys just have your locker rooms. You're going to play in your cities. You're still going to travel. You're still going to do your own thing. And if something happens, it happens.
Yeah, that it happens.
We're just not going to have fans there."
Well, as someone who watched many baseball movies and saw film of people in locker rooms, it looks pretty cramped in there. I mean, Rookie of the Year, I watched that. That had locker rooms in it. Space Jam, there were locker rooms. So I kind of know. I've seen my fair share of locker rooms. Angels in the Outfield, locker rooms. I know what they're all about, and it's definitely not a lot of space for somebody to move. But I want to get to this, Jacob, and Og has already stolen it from under me in the chat room. But wait until they cancel football. Riots in the Southeast. Civil war like we've never known before. Without simulated gladiatorial combat with college-age people or pros. Riots. Downright loss of control of the United States as we know it. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. We are not going to be okay. We're not going to be okay, Jacob. I believe firmly in my heart of hearts that the only reason that human beings don't eat each other is because we have some sort of Colosseum-based combat to view. The Romans didn't kill each other. Right. The Romans didn't kill each other because they watched lions eat Christians from time to time. They watched gladiators battle each other to the death. We've found a way to do that without killing each other, yet still satisfy the lizard brain that we have that says, I kind of need to see somebody kill somebody else today. Yeah. Deep down within human DNA is stored this need, this desire that even nerds who don't watch football simulate killing each other on video games because it is a deep-seated human desire to see people try to eat each other. And I think without that, we're doomed. We're absolutely doomed. And there are people that don't know that they can play video games, Jacob. They don't know. They just know that they got their football, and they want to see heads smashed.
Well, it's either Saturday night, Friday night, or Sunday. And I know I talked to a guy the other day who was like, look, my Saturday nights better be my Saturday nights, if you know what I mean. I watch college football, brother. And I'm like, yeah, I fully appreciate that. But here's a question. what can people learn from Miami at this point? The Miami Marlins. Can they learn they need to focus more on the clubhouse culture? Do they learn that maybe sports in a hot spot is a bad idea? If a place is a hot spot, we shouldn't. I mean, hell, Miami Dolphins started their training camp this week, right? So what are we doing about the Miami Dolphins whenever they start up playing football? And yeah, I know that they canceled the preseason, so we're not going to really get a football game until after I think Labor Day. I think it's the weekend after Labor Day is the first real football game. But still, what do we try to pivot away from hotspots, and how would that affect the season? All of a sudden you're having teams like the Miami Marlins who are going to miss 6 games, and right now it's just postponed, but I'm not going to sure that they're going to be able to make up those games in a 60 game season. It's already a truncated season, and they've already started with 6 games that they have to make up. They're probably going to cancel a large percentage of those 6 games, and it may be even more depending on how many continue to test positive. So now, do the Marlins have a significant disadvantage for not playing those games? Do the Nationals and the Phillies and the Yankees, now, are they at a disadvantage because they're not playing the 60 games like the rest of the teams are? So all of a sudden you see standings being questioned because not all teams are able to finish their schedule. So how do you know what they would have done with the full schedule? So these hotspots are starting to become a big deal because they might actually start affecting outcomes of playoff races.
Well, Jacob, staring at goats, I believe, isn't all about pointing out problems. It's about offering solutions. And I have a solution for every sports. We use the pro wrestling model of the late 70s, early 80s. Regional leagues. We've already got an American League and a National League. Now we just add the COVID League, which is all the idiots who want to do whatever they want. We just sell the players to this league, let them all just do whatever they want, and they have their own World Series. We'll just segregate the COVID League from the National League, from the American League. We create new teams. Think of the franchising opportunities, Jacob.
So we now have the Miami Marlins who have gone from the National League over to the COVID League. Yes. Who's the next joiner of the COVID League?
You create new teams where you need them. I mean, I don't think Alabama has a pro baseball team, so we create the Dothan Peanuts. And the Dothan Peanuts play in the COVID League because, as we all know, Alabama hasn't been touched by COVID or whatever they say about that. And then, like, the Florida League, Florida can have, like, 3 more teams based on their COVID exposure. They can afford all the teams. Everybody can play baseball. Before you know it, you've got this entire, like, naysaying, weird COVID world where they just play each other. And it worked for wrestling for a long time until the WWF brought everybody and combined it back again. So we just have all these teams. And then when COVID's over, the National League just goes, well, we're going to buy the Dothan Peanuts. And then they just get consumed by the Atlanta Braves. And it stays in the same region. I think it's perfectly sensible.
I think it's a great idea. Just make a third league.
Yeah, third league, COVID league.
And then, of course, whenever you have the National League meet the American League for the World Series, then the winner of that has to go against the winner of the COVID League to be the true World Series champion.
And the COVID League wins if everybody on the other side says, no, I'm not playing the COVID League.
We forfeit. COVID League wins. Woo, woo.
COVID League wins every year.
Speaking of their first positive, and Atlanta or Alabama may have had their first positive. North Korea, man, they're shutting things down because they had their first positive earlier this week. Did you see that in the news?
How does North Korea get a pot? Well, people from China can go to North Korea, like they're friends, right? They like pat each other on the butt and stuff.
Yes and no. I think they shut down the borders, but I think somebody illegally from South Korea came over and actually spread it, or that's what the propaganda machine that is the North Korean government decided to tell everybody that somebody from South Carolina or South Carolina.
Hey, y'all.
South Korea infected them all.
I'm coming here to win y'all to Jesus. Here's some COVID-19. No, that's fascinating. I mean, that tracks. That North Korea would be like, South Korea did this to us.
Of course they did.
Did we ever find out if Kim Jong-un has been daved, or is that really him?
I don't know.
I think he was.
Really don't know. I mean, I haven't really been keeping up with it, but I don't know if he's had too many public appearances. I know his sister is like taking control over a lot of what's the decisions that have been happening out of North Korea over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Kim Jong Un has decided that he wants more control back from his sister. But I know his sister's been really, and she's apparently more of a hardliner than he is.
Oh,
So,
great, good
yeah.
news. Ace Tiger said he's alive, but how alive? I think is what the real question is. How
Yes.
alive
Is he?
is he?
Is he like Bernie?
Right? Is he Bernie alive?
Is he Bernie alive?
And by
Or is
Bernie, we
he
mean Weekend at Bernie's for all the kids
Weekend
that
at Bernie, not
are,
not Bernie Sanders. We're talking about Weekend at Bernie's.
They brought Bernie back to life with chicken bones and stuff.
That's right.
Still a great movie. I think the sequel was better than the original. It was my jam when I was a kid. Love that movie.
I don't think I ever saw the sequel.
What? Jacob?
No, I saw the
Travis.
original, but I never saw the sequel.
Travis,
Weekend at Bernie's sequel.
I need you to call Jacob. New episode.
We already
alert.
have a movie that we've discussed.
Okay.
That I would come and chat with him about.
Well, good. You've got another
I won't
one.
spoil it for you, but we already have a movie that we have actually discussed. There are so many other movies because you know me. I did not watch movies prior to 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Whenever I met you guys.
Yeah. Well, now we're gonna fix all this. Anyway, this has been a long show, but I think a good show. I think we got some important stuff off our chest. We got some good news coming out that we wanted to report on. We didn't get email this week. That's okay. You guys have a lot of things going on in your lives, but I'd love to get some. I'd love to get your perspective on sports. I'd love to get your perspective on school openings in your area. If you've still got things you haven't already told us. I think Jacob, you're planning on doing some reaching out for interviews.
I am. I've already reached out to quite a few folks, and I think we may actually get started next week.
Good. That's exciting. So that'll be coming on the show, which will be great. Lando, we wish the best to. Hopefully he gets his everything under control and can come back on and join us on this show that he brainstormed and decided that we should talk about this together. Ace actually has a good email for us right now. Dear Staring at Goats, give me sports or give me death. Sounds about right. You might get both. We'll see how that goes.
And mailbag, staring at goats at Gmail or staring at goats podcast at gmail.com.
That's right.
Podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah. And if you want to join the live conversation every day, join us on our Discord at twodorts.net/Discord. We are a wonderful little community who enjoys conversation about things and stuff and having a good time together and being cool. As long as you're cool with each other, we can be cool in the Discord. And with that, man, give us a review on your favorite podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Steve H&H, or Staring at Goats, staring_goats, if you want to send us a quick little 240 character blurb. And if you want to join our Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/2dorks, where you can give us even $1 a month is enough to get you into the special Patreon stuff that we do from time to time. And you can join all the other happy people like Hammerdorf and Og and Adam of Geekheim and Oddly Normal One. All these other people that I need to start writing down a list so I can thank every time.
Lucretia
and Doc and Jewel for their things that they give us. Wonderful, wonderful things. And with that, y'all just stay safe, keep your mask on, and don't play baseball with people with COVID. And we'll see you next time here on Staring at Goats. All right.
That's another show in the can.
Another one done, baby. Another one down.
19. Did you think we'd get to 19?
I was hoping we wouldn't. We've talked about that before. I'm glad we did. Most shows is podcasting in an average die at 10. So we're already double the average, but we are quite competitive in our desire to be a good podcast and be on the air.
How about this? I would love it if 20 was the end.
Yeah, I'd love to call it at 20. That would be pretty great. All things said.
And so the one thing I do want to say to all the folks that are still here, the 11, 12 of you guys that are still here. Earlier, I think we made a reference to the Holocaust, and I do not want to put COVID in the same category as the Holocaust. However, what I will say is that, it's under no circumstance can COVID actually be related in any way to the atrocities that happened at the Holocaust, period.
Did somebody call us out on
is
that in the channel? Because I
100%
feel really
No,
bad
they
if it was
didn't.
read that way.
No, they didn't. But in my own mind, I felt it, and I wanted to at least talk about it because it's absolutely no way related. But I think we took a little bit of liberties by bringing it up, just because there are some people who have gone through a lot of struggles and who have lost loved ones and not been able to care for their loved ones, not been able to see their loved ones, not be able to bury their loved ones. There's been mass graves. There's been a lot of atrocities that have happened associated with COVID that we don't even know about yet. And I think more is going to come to light later. And I don't want to diminish what those families are going through, but I also don't want to put it in the same category as the Holocaust. So
That's fair enough.
We could definitely get some hate mail on that, and I would willingly accept that hate mail because we did probably not cross a line, but we did make a comparison that I'm probably not comfortable with.
Well, you say we, you mean Steven flew off the handle, and that's fair. If you were offended,
I came to your defense and I tried to justify it. So I'm part of that.
I certainly apologize if that was an insensitive comparison, and I would hope that it wasn't viewed as like a one-to-one, but more just it was the first thing that my brain grabbed onto that was like telling someone who had been through something that they didn't go through it. Yeah, but there's definitely, that's not an apples to apples comparison. I'll put a bumper on the beginning of the show just to say it was made, or I can cut it. What do you want me to do, producer? What would you rather me? What would you be more comfortable with? You want me to cut it out of the history of the show?
No,
or just
absolutely not. I think we ought to just leave it in there, let it ride, and I don't even think it needs a disclaimer. Maybe you put this disclaimer at the end, or maybe you have a discussion at the end saying that under no circumstance was that intended to sound in any way like we were comparing this to the Holocaust.
Oh, I hope it didn't. That is what it wasn't what I was going for, at all.
I think it was more referring to the deniers anyway, and that's really where you were going with that.
Yeah, I was really trying to get at deniers. Yeah. There's truth, and then there are people that stare at that truth and say that didn't happen, and I don't care about what you went through. And that was the main goal of that analogy.
And even Ace Tigers came out in the chat and said, yeah, she was. Who else? Zafo even came out in the chat and said he was okay with it too.
Yeah.
So I mean, they both. I think it sounded okay. I just when we start throwing around the Holocaust, that's whenever things start. I start really reevaluating to make sure that we're saying the right things, because the Holocaust, and when you bring that into a conversation, that's probably one of the atrocities of mankind. Period.
Oh yeah, I agree with that completely. Yes.
And so every time a Holocaust discussion even happens, I immediately go, okay, this is the level of which the discussion has to around the Holocaust has to happen, because it has to be communicated as one of mankind's worst atrocities.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I hope if we get hate mail on it, I'll be happy to answer it with the same thing we just said. And it's still recording, so it'll be in the YouTube video one way or another. So yeah, but oh my goodness, yeah, my word. I hope I didn't bother.
Steven, I had fun tonight, man.
I did too. That was a good time.